Hey guys. Okay, so obviously the major reveal to talk about with this chapter is that Luffy's devil fruit, the Gum Gum fruit, was stolen 12 years ago from a government transport before it was stolen, and he ate it himself. And okay, here's where I'm gonna start to go a little cuckoo crazy with the whole theories, ideas, all whatever we want to call it at this point. Because right out of the gate, this to me is just another piece of the puzzle that fits perfectly into place of confirming whether Luffy intended to or not, whether by pure accident or fate, he did become the next Joy Boy the moment he ate that fruit. Because the other piece of this puzzle being the Straw Hat hidden underground, which with this reveal makes that one fit much more perfectly into place, because now we're getting a greater sense that these two things, the Straw Hat and the Gum Gum Fruit, are symbols of Joy Boy's legacy and power. Now, with that knowledge in mind, the question remains of why the Gum Gum Fruit was sought out by the government, or why the Straw Hat was kept locked away under Marie's law. And honestly, just being given these two pieces of information, I'm inclined to believe at this point that Emu, whatever his name is either connected to the original Joy Boy in some way, possibly by blood, or is the original Joy Boy and has somehow lived long past the events of the Void Century, long past of the events of the Void Century, and is pretty much hoping to regain his lost power again. The latter being the more cuckoo crazy idea, but either scenario just fits so perfectly at this point, because really it would make sense as to why Emu kind of keeps himself hidden, because he himself isn't even at his he has lost his power, and he's hoping to regain it, but unfortunately the said power right now lies in the hand of a certain Straw Hat pirate. So yeah, like it's one of those things where I think if I'm right in this assumption that Emu is either connected to Joy Boy or is Joy Boy, then a lot of what's going on right now is basically him pretty much wanting to reclaim the power that he sees as his birthright, and with the possibility of Emu like having knowledge of the Void Century, it's very much possible that what the government has feared from Nico Robin is what exactly is going to happen if Emu ends up like regaining his power, like the very darkness and destruction of the world that the government fears happening because of Nico Robin's affiliation with the Straw Hats, is what's going to happen if Emu regains his powers. Like, it's, again, it fits way too perfectly into place for that not to be the case, unfortunately, right now. Now, there is one other thing to talk about, which is how much Shanks knew, because obviously he's the one who stole the fruit from the government transport, and as proven, he's not a dumbass. In fact, he's very calculating in the decision he makes. So even though I don't think Shanks necessarily planned for Luffy to eat the Gum Gum fruit, you can bet he had enough knowledge about the Void Century and the One Piece to know that he had to keep the Gum Gum fruit away from the government and out of Emu's possession, which in itself would also go a long way towards explaining why Emu wants to kill Luffy, because again, he stole what was his birthright. But the best part about this entire reveal in itself is that for as big and bombastic as this reveal about the Gum Gum fruit is, it changes absolutely fucking nothing about Luffy, his character, about Luffy's life, his character, and it changes none of that. All that stuff is just what others perceive. If anything, the only thing that this reveal about the Gum Gum fruit has changed is the context behind the moment, like Shanks gives Luffy his straw hat, and if anything, just a lot of the bigger questions that revolve around how much Shanks knew then and how much he knows now. Like Shanks right now, like in a lot of ways, I think we can say that pretty much Shanks is kind of at the a lot of what a lot of a lot of what we a lot of what's probably a lot of like the supposed the like history with the Gum for right now. Like both Luffy and Shanks are kind of at the center of it, and like Shanks especially, and yeah, like it's I just love this reveal so fucking much because it just there's for so many ways, so many theories, so many ways in which you can perceive this right now, and right now I'm betting all my chips on that Emu is like is like connected to Joy Boy in some way, or is Joy Boy. That's my theory on the case. Uh, with all that said, we get two pretty big reveals in this chapter. The first being that Who's Who is pretty much is a former CP9 agent, which right off the bat makes me want to know his like backstory and how the fuck he's even still alive. How he's still alive is frankly the most astonishing part to me because from pretty much what we know about CP9's like practices when it comes to training orphans, like training agents. Any CP9 agent who goes rogue are instantly marked for execution or capture. So it's like I'd like to know like the circumstances of how he ended up in Kaido's employ, but even just being told he had just as much potential as Rob Lucci, though, is enough to make me just want to see his past. But again, even if we don't, we have gotten enough of a glimpse into the idea of CP9 to imagine what his life was like before Kaido. And with that said, I will say that the whole thing about Who's Who saying that he had just as much potential as Rob Lucci does in certain ways keep me interested in his fight with Jinbei, but also might potentially be a bit of a slipping point because just the fact that we know he had just as much potential as Rob Lucci means that there are some pretty high expectations for his fight, and I don't know whether or not like Lucci is necessarily whether or not Who's Who is going to be able to meet those expectations, but we'll have to wait and see. The fight has just begun, obviously, so I'm still going to be curious as to how this fight between Jinbei and Who's Who is going to play out, but there is that thing that is going to be in the back of my head now. The other big reveal, though, and the more interesting one, though, is that it's revealed that Queen knows Sanji's father because he was a part of the same research team, Mads. And we all know who else was part of Mads as well, Vegapunk. So understand what this means. While it's not entirely a guarantee if Sanji does defeat Queen, we might potentially learn some valued information about Vegapunk, like for example his current whereabouts or why he doesn't seem to stay in one place for very long. Really just the setup of Queen versus Sanji right now has so much potential in order to learn so much information to answer so many questions about Vegapunk right now, which would and right now they could be potentially answered by Queen, but only if he's convinced to share, i.e. if he's defeated. But yeah, like I said, there's just so much potential right now when it comes to this particular fight that I'm like, okay, I'm here for the fight, but what's gonna happen once Queen's defeated? Is he gonna share any of that information or what? Like, please, Oda, there is potential here. Give us something to work with here. Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. And yeah, aside from that, we see Zoro like pretty much eager to get back into the battle and willing to do anything right now, even if he has to like dope himself up or something to make that possible, which shows that like when Luffy shows just like with Luffy when Zoro gets back in the battle, he still has one more card to play now. Whether it's going to be enough is the other question, because the one major thing that we still haven't addressed in this arc and this whole final battle yet is Hiyori's role as well as that of from Odin's second sword. As is the role of Odin's second sword. Ame no um which is from Ame no Habakiri. Like there's absolutely no way Oda would have introduced both of Odin's swords if he didn't have a plan for both. It's just a matter of when Habakiri comes back into play is the question, and I like we are reaching that point very soon. In fact, I'm practically certain at this point that Habakiri will be the sword Yamato takes up in order to defeat Kaido. Like right now we are setting the stage where I think the main players right now to defeat Kaido are Luffy, Zoro, and Luffy, Zoro, and Yamato. I think these are like the three main players who are going to ultimately end up possibly being the ones to defeat Kaido. But even then, it's like, is it still gonna be enough? We'll have to see. But yeah, guys, that's really all I've got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and on Control. Be sure to hit the notification button, and just share it around, guys. Dead and that of me, signing off. Later, guys.